Well, today we're building an enclosure. Let's go. So the only thing you should have to purchase for the enclosure itself is some sealant. Now, when you're shopping for sealant, you're looking for silicone specifically. And what you'll find is some are marked as 100% silicone. These are safe to use. Some are marked as silicone 1. These are also safe to use. The ones that are marked as silicone 2, these are not safe, so don't buy that one. Now, if you're like me and you open your boxes using a steak knife, just make sure you go at it from an angle and not like stab the box, because you don't want to scratch or cut into your PVC itself. And be careful, knives are sharp. And the happy face is just hiding my address because there's some weirdos on the internet sometimes. In the box, you will likely find a bill of sale or packing documents. Make sure you hang on to these until you have the enclosure completely assembled, just in case there's a problem with it and you need to send it back. It's also a good idea to hang on to the cardboard that it comes in if you maybe have carpet or area rugs in the space you're using to build this, and it gives you a solid flat surface to work on. When you are unpacking the enclosure, just be mindful to lay your pieces down flat and carefully. PVC is a really soft material and it dents very easily. All I'm doing here is I'm wiping down the inside panels. All I'm using is water and a paper towel. If you've never ordered a PVC before, they do come somewhat a little bit dusty, and you don't really notice it until you have the PVC enclosure built and assembled for a few days, and then you start to see the dust forming on the plexiglass fronts. If you don't often use power tools, it might be better to use a hand tool, a hand screwdriver, to assemble your PVC, because if you lose a little bit of control and put a little too much power into these, then it can sink the screws in too far. Like I said earlier, PVC is very soft, and it's very easy to just pound those screws in way too deep. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say peeling this protective paper off the plexiglass is probably the most satisfying part of building these PVC enclosures. So a small hack for you guys, this little hole in your caulking gun here, that actually has a blade in it, and you can use it to nip the top off the tube of sealant. Also, on most caulking guns, they have this little pin here. I normally don't use it. I would normally use a nail or a screw, but for demonstration purposes, I decided I would use it. And all that does is you can swing it around and you can use that to pierce the seal inside the tube. Now I'm just going to run a bead of sealant through all the corners where two pieces join together, and that will give me a watertight seal. And if you're anything like me, you're probably gonna have a couple of globs to clean up inside the enclosure. So I just got my spray bottle that it's just water and a paper towel, and it'll wipe right off. And then all I'm going to do after that is wet my fingertips just a little bit. They just have to be damp. And then I'm just going to use my fingertips to smooth out the bead that I ran and push it down into those joints so that I get a really nice clean finish and I know that it's totally sealed up. One last thing, I'm not actually going to install the roof panel on this enclosure today because I have a few more things that I need to do inside of it, and they would be much easier to do if I didn't install the roof panel. So in today's episode of building janky stuff with Corey, I need a new base for the stack of PVCs. I have one. It was built by a friend of mine and it works, but it's small, and every time I try and move them, they almost come crashing down. So with the addition of a fourth large PVC, I need something that's a little more sturdy and a little better. So that's what we're gonna do. Here's your disclaimer. If you build things for a living, just turn the video off right now. Just cancel it. Don't watch any further. Just pretend like this is where we stop. Don't watch it. It's not going to be pretty, but it needs to be done. So there's your warning. So I don't think I actually have a lot to say about what I'm doing here. So I'm going to time lapse this entire video and just put on some music for you guys. All I've basically done is measure out my boards to fit the bottom of the lowest PVC, and I've cut 2 for the front and back, and then I'm going to cut 2 for the sides as well as a support beam, and then I'm just going to screw them together and make essentially just a box. Now I did build this frame from scrap 2x4s that I had laying around in my yard. So they are a little bit warped and some of them are a little bit cracked, but they don't have to be perfect because these are going under the PVCs and nobody's ever gonna know. Nobody's gonna see them. So if you just have extra materials lying around, use them. You don't have to go out and spend a ton of money trying to make this perfect. Now, one thing I did do was I did take out the sander and smooth down all the corners and all the edges, because I am absolutely that person that will bust my toe wide open first thing in the morning because I've accidentally kicked this thing. I am reusing the wheels off the old base. I disassembled my entire stack of PVCs so I could pull the old base out and pull the wheels off. So this whole project, building this new base, all it actually cost me was about $8 on a can of spray paint. And there it is done. No, it's not perfect, but it does the job.